There are moments in life when everything just lines up. You can't explain it. You didn't plan it. But somehow the right person appeared. The right opportunity showed up. Or a quiet knowing inside whispered, "This is where you're meant to be." It almost feels like the universe itself reached down and gently rearranged the pieces of your life into perfect harmony. These moments are not accidents. They are signals. They are the gentle fingerprints of a deeper intelligence at work. Something far greater than luck or coincidence. In the language of modern spiritual science, we call this quantum coherence, a state where your mind, body, and soul fall into rhythm with the very same creative energy that shaped the stars, the planets, and every living thing in existence. For most of our lives, we've been taught a different story. We were told that life is a series of random events, that we must hustle, push, and fight to make things happen. We were taught to believe that reality is something out there, separate from us, something we must struggle to control. But what if the truth is far more beautiful? What if you are not just a passive observer of life, but a living participant in its creation? What if, in every moment, your inner state, your thoughts, your emotions, the subtle frequency of your being, is quietly shaping the reality around you? This isn't wishful thinking. This isn't about pretending to be happy or forcing yourself to be positive. It's about alignment. Imagine a guitar string that is slightly out of tune. No matter how skillfully you play, the music will always sound just a little off. That's what most of us experience in daily life. We try to create harmony from a place of inner dissonance. We work harder. We think more. We plan endlessly. Yet deep inside, there's still a quiet tension, a resistance that keeps us out of sync with the natural flow of life. Quantum coherence is like tuning that string. It's the moment when the scattered pieces of yourself click into place, the mind softens, the body relaxes, the heart opens, and suddenly, life stops feeling like a battle. It begins to move with you, not against you. Opportunities seem to appear without effort. Relationships become more meaningful. Even challenges feel purposeful, as if they're guiding you, rather than punishing you. And here's the secret that changes everything. You don't create coherence by force. You remember it. This state has always been a part of you. It's the rhythm of your natural being. The same rhythm that keeps the planet spinning and the tides flowing. The only thing that ever separates you from it is the noise of fear, doubt, and overthinking, the static of a mind trying to control what was never meant to be controlled. When you let go, when you stop fighting yourself, coherence naturally rises to the surface, just like the sun breaking through a cloudy sky. Today, I'm inviting you on a journey not to go out and hunt for power, not to strive for something beyond your reach, but to come home to the power that has always been within you. Because here's the truth. Most people never realize you are not separate from the universe. You are the universe, expressing itself through this body, this mind, this moment. The more you align with that truth, the more your life begins to reflect it. You'll start to see the subtle ways reality bends and reshapes itself around your inner state. What once felt like chaos begins to show patterns of meaning. What once seemed like random suffering reveals itself as preparation. So, as we step into this exploration together, I ask you to consider this. What if every coincidence was actually a message? What if every challenge was a doorway? And what if, right here and now, you already hold the key to creating a life of profound harmony and freedom, not by forcing the world to change, but by changing the frequency you bring to it? The journey begins, not with effort, but with awareness. And as we move forward, you'll discover that the most extraordinary power you could ever wield is not out there. It's in here, waiting for you to remember it. 1. Coherence is your natural state, not an external goal. There was a time in my life when I thought peace was something I had to chase. I believed that if I worked hard enough, read enough books, meditated long enough, or controlled every thought I had, I would finally get there. But no matter how much effort I poured into trying to be calm, centered, and enlightened, it always seemed just out of reach, like a horizon that kept moving further away the closer I walked toward it. It took me years, and many painful nights, to realize that coherence was never something I had to create. It was never a prize waiting at the end of some spiritual marathon. Coherence has been here all along, quietly resting beneath the noise, like the stillness at the bottom of the ocean. While storms rage on the surface, you were born in coherence. When you took your first breath, there was no resistance, no inner conflict, no need to prove yourself to anyone. You simply were. As a baby, you didn't have to try to be in alignment. You just lived, open and free, fully connected to life itself. That connection has never truly left you. What happened is this: over time, layers began to form. Layers of fear, of doubt, of shame, of all the things you were told about who you should be. These layers weren't your fault. They were given to you by the world, by people who were carrying their own pain and confusion. Every criticism, every rejection, every unhealed wound settled into your heart and mind, like clouds gathering in the sky. And when enough clouds gather, it's easy to forget there's still a sun shining above them. Coherence isn't something you achieve through struggle or control. It is what naturally rises when those clouds begin to part. The more you fight, the more tightly you grip, the thicker those clouds become. But when you begin to let go, even just a little, you'll notice a soft light breaking through. Not because you made it appear, but because it was always there, waiting for you to notice. This is why so many of us feel exhausted on the path of self-improvement. We think we have to build ourselves into something better, like sculptors hammering away at stone. But the truth is softer, kinder. You don't have to build yourself. You only have to uncover what has been hidden. Imagine a river, when branches, leaves, and debris fall into it. The water becomes blocked, turbulent, messy. You might stand on the shore, frustrated, thinking you need to make the river flow again. But the river never stopped flowing. All that's needed is to clear away the debris, and the current will naturally return to its smooth, steady movement. You are that river. Your true self, your coherence, has never been broken or lost. It's simply been covered by the debris of old stories and unprocessed pain. So how do we begin to clear the way? It doesn't start with force. It begins with gentleness. It begins with acknowledging that you don't need to control every thought or fix every feeling. Instead, you allow space for them to rise and fall, like waves on the surface of that deep ocean. This is the paradox. The moment you stop trying so hard to fix yourself is often the very moment healing begins. Because coherence isn't born from effort. It's revealed through surrender. Think of the morning sun. It doesn't fight to rise. It doesn't negotiate with the darkness or demand permission from the night. It simply appears when the time is right, shining, because shining is its nature. Your coherence is the same. The more you practice allowing rather than forcing, the more you'll begin to feel subtle shifts, a little more calm in the midst of chaos, a little more clarity where there used to be confusion, a quiet knowing replacing the constant need to plan and control. And slowly, the clouds will part. Not all at once, not forever, but enough for you to glimpse the truth. You don't have to chase coherence. You are coherence. It has been here since the beginning, and it will be here until the very end. Your only task is to return, again and again, to the simple truth of who you really are. Not by striving, but by remembering, not by holding on, but by letting go. And when you do, you'll discover that what you've been seeking outside of you has been quietly shining within you all along. 2. Challenges air preparation, not failure. There are seasons in life when everything feels heavy. Moments when you wake up and wonder if you've somehow taken a wrong turn. When the people around you don't seem to understand you, and even you can't quite understand yourself. You feel isolated, misunderstood, maybe even broken. I know that feeling well. I've walked through those dark corridors of confusion and despair, wondering if I'd lost my way entirely. But with time, I came to see that those chapters were not signs of failure. They were signs of transformation. Think of a computer for a moment. When you install new software, the system often needs to shut down and restart before it can run smoothly again. There's a pause, a temporary disruption, and sometimes even a few glitches along the way. This doesn't mean the computer is broken. It means it's updating. Your mind, body, and spirit work in much the same way. When you are growing, when you are shifting into a higher state of awareness, there will be moments when it feels like you've fallen apart. You might feel tired. You might feel lost. You might even question everything you thought you knew about yourself and the world. But this isn't the end of your journey. It's a recalibration, a necessary reset, so you can hold the greater energy and awareness that are coming your way. What feels like loss is often just space being cleared. The friendships that fade, the jobs that end, the paths that close down, these aren't punishments or failures. They are openings. They are life's way of gently removing what no longer fits. So something truer, something more aligned with who you are becoming, can take root. It's like pruning a tree. From the outside, it can look harsh. Branches are cut away. Leaves fall to the ground. And for a while, the tree looks bare and vulnerable. But this pruning isn't harm. It's preparation. It makes space for new growth, for stronger, healthier branches to reach toward the light. And just like that tree, you are being shaped into a fuller, freer version of yourself. There were times in my own life when I mistook this pruning for punishment. I thought the universe was against me. But now, looking back, I can see how everything I lost was making room for everything I truly needed. If those things hadn't been stripped away, I never would have discovered the deeper truth of who I am. When you are in the middle of this process, it rarely feels graceful. You might feel like you're stumbling in the dark, searching for a light switch that isn't there. And it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to cry, to question, to grieve what's leaving. But beneath the chaos, there is a quiet intelligence at work. Something in you, something ancient and wise, knows exactly what it's doing. Your nervous system is upgrading. Your energy field is expanding. And your consciousness is learning to hold a new frequency. Just because you can't see the transformation yet doesn't mean it isn't happening. It's like a caterpillar inside its cocoon. From the outside, it looks still, lifeless even. But inside, there is an incredible process, unfolding, cells reorganizing, old forms dissolving, a completely new being emerging. If you saw that transformation up close, it would look messy and even chaotic. But in time, the butterfly breaks free, carrying wings it never could have imagined. Your challenges are your cocoon. They are the sacred space where the old parts of you dissolve so the new parts can be born. And though it may hurt, though it may feel like you are losing everything, what you are really losing are the limitations that kept you small. So the next time you feel like you've been knocked down or left behind, take a breath. Remind yourself, this is not the end. This is the turning point. The confusion, the grief, the discomfort, they are all signals that you are being prepared for a life beyond what you've known. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. One day, you will look back at this chapter and see how every tear, every closed door, every lonely night was part of a divine pattern. You'll see that nothing was wasted, and everything was guiding you home to yourself. And when that day comes, you will stand stronger, freer, and more alive than you ever imagined. Not in spite of your challenges, but because of them. 3. When your awareness is strong enough, you choose the timeline. There is a quiet truth that many of us overlook: your future isn't fixed. It's not a straight line you must walk, nor is it a locked door that only a lucky few can open. In the quantum world, there are many versions of you existing all at once, like countless branches of a great tree, each one leading to a different reality. I didn't always understand this. For much of my life, I believed there was only one path, and that I had to fight, strive, and struggle to make it work. When things didn't go as planned, I blamed myself or thought fate had turned against me. It felt like life was something happening to me, rather than something moving through me. But over time, through both pain and awakening, I began to see the deeper pattern. Life wasn't punishing me. It was showing me something extraordinary. My inner state was shaping the outer world, moment by moment, choice by choice. You see, in the quantum field, your thoughts, emotions, and even the subtle energy of your body are constantly interacting with the unseen fabric of reality. This energy acts like a tuning fork. It vibrates at a certain frequency, and that frequency determines which version of reality you experience. Imagine standing in front of an old radio with a dial. When you turn the dial to a certain station, and you hear the music that's already playing on that frequency, you don't have to create the song, and you don't have to force the radio to play it. You simply tune in. Your life works the same way. If your frequency is filled with fear, doubt, or scarcity, you will naturally tune in to timelines that match those vibrations. If your frequency is rooted in love, trust, and openness, you align with timelines where those energies flourish. This is why so many people struggle with manifestation. They think it's about forcing life to give them what they want through sheer willpower or endless visualization. But that approach is like screaming at the radio to change stations instead of quietly turning the dial. It's exhausting, and it rarely works. When you reach a state of quantum coherence, something profound shifts. You no longer have to chase, control, or manipulate outcomes. You simply become the frequency of what you desire, and reality reorganizes itself around you. It's not magic, it's alignment. I remember a time in my life when I desperately wanted change. I tried every method I could find: affirmations, plans, endless effort. Nothing stuck. It was like trying to push open a door that wasn't meant to open yet. Then, one day, I stopped pushing. I let go, not out of defeat, but out of surrender. I focused on calming my inner state rather than fixing the outer world. Slowly, my breathing softened, my thoughts quieted, and something in me began to harmonize. And then, almost effortlessly, doors began to open. The right people appeared. The opportunities I had been chasing seemed to find me. It was as if I had stepped into a new timeline, one that had always been there but was invisible until I was ready to see it. This is the beauty of coherence. You don't have to force anything, because you no longer exist on the timeline of struggle. You've shifted into the timeline where the life you long for already exists. It's like walking through a doorway into a room that has been waiting for you all along. Think of a river flowing gently downstream. When you're out of alignment, it's as if you're trying to paddle upstream, fighting the current, exhausting yourself just to stay in place. But when you reach coherence, you turn your boat around and allow the current to carry you. The river doesn't change its direction, you change how you move within it. Choosing your timeline isn't about controlling every detail of life. It's about choosing the vibration you live from, moment by moment. When your awareness is strong enough, you begin to see that every reaction, every thought, every breath is a choice, a tuning of your inner dial. And as you choose again and again to return to love instead of fear, to trust instead of doubt, the timeline you walk begins to shift beneath your feet. At first, the changes may seem subtle, a sense of calm in the midst of chaos, a small moment of unexpected kindness. But over time, those small shifts accumulate until one day you look around and realize you're standing in a completely different reality. Not because the outside world suddenly decided to change, but because you became the kind of person who could naturally inhabit that new world. This is the power of awareness. This is the gift of coherence. You don't have to chase your future. You simply align with it. And when you do, you'll discover that the version of life you've been yearning for has been here all along, waiting patiently for you to step into it. 4. True power does not come from fake positivity. I've met many people who walk through life wearing a smile like a mask. On the outside, they seem cheerful and optimistic, always saying the right things, always trying to keep the mood light. But if you look closely, if you listen between the lines, you can feel it underneath that bright surface. There's a quiet storm raging, fear, anxiety, old wounds that never had a chance to heal. I know this because I used to be one of them. I believed that if I just acted positive, if I kept forcing myself to think good thoughts and hide my pain, eventually the darkness inside me would disappear. But no matter how hard I tried, the heaviness was still there, lingering like a shadow that wouldn't let go. It wasn't until much later that I realized this truth: pretending to be okay is not the same as being whole. This is what I call false coherence. It's when we smooth the surface of our lives while leaving the depths untouched. It's like painting over a cracked wall. For a little while, it might look better, but the cracks are still there, waiting to break through again. False coherence happens when we focus only on appearances, on looking calm, looking happy, looking spiritual while inside our energy is fragmented and chaotic. And it's not our fault. Many of us were taught to stay strong, to just think positive, to hide our pain so we don't burden others. We learn to perform happiness because that's what the world seemed to want from us. But real healing doesn't come from performance. It comes from integration. True coherence isn't about forcing your mind into positive thinking. It's about bringing your entire being, your heart, your brain, your nervous system into harmony, so that every cell in your body vibrates with the same gentle rhythm. When that happens, peace doesn't have to be faked or forced. It simply flows from within you, the way a flower blooms without needing to be told how. Imagine a violin that hasn't been tuned in a long time. You can play beautiful music on it, but the sound will never be quite right. Now imagine taking the time to tune each string carefully, to bring them all into perfect alignment. When you play then, the music flows effortlessly, and it feels alive. That's what coherence does for your life. It tunes every part of you so that your actions, words, and emotions flow from a natural harmony rather than from inner conflict. When you are truly coherent, you don't need to repeat affirmations 100 times a day. You don't need to plaster a smile on your face when your heart feels heavy. Peace becomes your natural state, not because you've silenced your pain, but because you've listened to it, integrated it, and allowed it to transform. There was a time when I thought being spiritual meant avoiding difficult emotions. I pushed away anger, grief, and fear, telling myself they were low vibrations I shouldn't feel. But ignoring them only made them grow stronger. It was like pushing a beach ball under the water. The harder I pushed, the more forcefully it would pop back up. Real coherence came when I stopped running from those feelings. I sat with them. I let my anger have a voice. I let my grief wash over me like a tide. And as I did, something unexpected happened. The emotions began to dissolve, like mist in the morning sun. This is the paradox. Peace is not the absence of pain, but the presence of wholeness. You don't have to be endlessly cheerful to be truly free. You just have to be real. Real with yourself. Real with your heart. Real with your life. When your inner world becomes honest and aligned, your outer world begins to shift naturally. People can feel it. Your presence becomes soothing. Not because you're pretending to be strong, but because you've become a safe place for others to rest. And perhaps most beautifully, you no longer fear the chaos outside of you, because you've made peace with the chaos within. True coherence isn't loud or flashy. It doesn't need to announce itself. It's like a calm lake, reflecting the sky, still, deep, unshaken by the winds that ripple the surface. When you reach this state, you no longer have to try to be positive. You don't need to chase happiness or perform spirituality. Peace simply radiates from you, quietly and steadily, like the warmth of sunlight on a cool morning. And those around you will feel it not because of what you say, but because of who you've become. That is the power of true coherence, a harmony so deep it transforms everything without needing to force a single thing. 5. You are the meeting point between the individual and the universe. There's a quiet miracle happening inside you right now, one that you've likely never been taught to notice. Your heart, that steady rhythm you've felt since before you were born, is more than just a pump moving blood through your body. It's a source of energy so powerful that science is only beginning to understand it. Every beat of your heart sends out an electromagnetic field, a subtle but measurable wave of energy that extends far beyond your physical body. In moments of calm, this field can reach out several feet, 8 meters, surrounding you like an invisible halo. And whether you're aware of it or not, this field is in constant dialogue with the world around you. I remember the first time I truly felt this connection. I was sitting quietly, not doing anything special, just breathing and being present. Suddenly, I sensed a shift, like the air around me had grown thicker, alive with meaning. In that stillness, I felt the presence of someone I loved deeply, even though they were miles away. Moments later, my phone rang, and it was them. At the time, I brushed it off as coincidence, but as I continued my own journey of healing and awakening, I came to see that it wasn't coincidence at all. It was coherence, my heart's energy field syncing with theirs through a phenomenon science calls quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement is often described in scientific terms, but at its essence, it's simple. Two things that were once connected remain connected, no matter how far apart they are. What happens to one affects the other instantly, beyond the limits of space and time. And here's the part that takes my breath away. You are living proof of this. Every meaningful relationship you've ever had, every moment of true connection, leaves an imprint. It creates an energetic thread that links you to others in ways you can feel, even if you can't explain it. Have you ever thought of someone out of nowhere, only for them to call or text you moments later? Have you ever walked into a room and felt the atmosphere before anyone spoke a word? Have you ever just known something was about to happen, without having any logical reason why? These experiences are not accidents. They are signals from your heart's electromagnetic field, communicating with the greater field of life itself. When you reach a state of coherence, this communication becomes clearer and stronger. It's like adjusting the antenna on an old radio. You go from static and interference to a crisp, clear signal. In this state, you are no longer just a separate individual moving through a random world. You become the meeting point, the bridge where the personal and the universal merge. This is why some moments feel almost magical. It's not magic in the sense of tricks or illusions. It's magic in the truest sense, a recognition that you are deeply, intricately woven into the fabric of existence. You are like a single wave in a vast ocean. At first glance, the wave may seem separate, rising and falling on its own. But if you look closer, you realize it is made of the same water as the entire ocean. When the wave moves, the ocean moves with it. When the ocean shifts, the wave responds instantly. Your heart works in much the same way. Your emotions, your thoughts, your very presence ripple outward, touching others in ways you may never fully see. And at the same time, the collective energy of humanity flows back to you, influencing your inner world. This understanding changes how you move through life. You begin to see that your private choices are never just private. The compassion you cultivate in silence radiates outward. The anger you hold on to doesn't just stay locked inside you. It adds to the field of tension in the world. Every moment, you are both shaping and being shaped by the larger energy we all share. When you realize this, responsibility takes on a new meaning. It's no longer about controlling others or fixing the world. It's about tending to your own frequency, cleaning the lens through which you perceive, softening the edges of your own heart, and aligning yourself with love rather than fear. Because when you do this, something remarkable happens. Your field begins to harmonize. And as it harmonizes, it naturally brings others into harmony too. Without words, without effort, your very presence becomes a source of calm and clarity. You've probably felt this before when being around someone who radiates peace. You don't need them to say anything. Just sitting beside them makes you breathe a little easier. That's the power of coherence. You are not an isolated fragment, lost and alone in a cold universe. You are the universe, expressed through a single and digits, beautiful form, and every beat of your heart is a reminder of that truth, a subtle, silent pulse connecting you to all of life. When you truly understand this, even the smallest moments take on a sacred quality. A glance, a touch, a shared silence. You begin to see them for what they are living, proof that you were never separate, and you never will be. 6. Those who embody coherence naturally uplift others. There is a quiet power in simply being, not doing, not fixing, not persuading, just being. When you reach a state of true coherence, this becomes clear in a way words can barely capture. I used to believe that if I wanted to help others, I needed to have the perfect advice, the right plan, or the clever solution to their problems. I thought healing required action, and that my worth was measured by how much I could do for someone else. But over time, as I walked through my own darkness and came to know my own light, I discovered something astonishing. The most profound healing often happens in silence, in presence, in the spaces between words. When you live in a state of inner harmony, you become like a tuning fork. Without effort, you emit a steady, pure vibration, and just like a tuning fork naturally brings nearby instruments into resonance, your coherence invites the nervous systems of others to align with yours. You've probably experienced this before without realizing it. Think of a moment when you were deeply unsettled, anxious, angry, or overwhelmed, and then someone walked into the room who radiated calm. They didn't tell you to relax. They didn't offer you solutions. Yet, somehow, their presence alone softened you. Your breath deepened. Your shoulders dropped. The chaos inside you quieted. Just a little. That is the invisible gift of coherence. It flows through you without you needing to try. When you embody this state, you become a point of reference for others. A lighthouse in a storm, silently shining its light, not chasing ships or forcing them to safety, but simply standing in its truth. Those who are lost will see that light and, without needing to be told, they will find their way home. I've seen this happen in the smallest, most ordinary moments, sitting beside someone in grief, not speaking, just holding space, sharing a quiet meal with a friend who feels lost, even passing a stranger on the street and offering a genuine smile. When you are coherent, your energy communicates what words cannot. You are safe here. You are seen. You are not alone. And the beautiful thing is, this doesn't come from ego or effort. It's not about being special or better than anyone else. It's about being so at peace within yourself that others can feel their own peace reflected back to them through you. This is why certain people seem to heal us just by existing. It's not that they are giving us something we lack. It's that they are holding a mirror up to what has always been inside us. In their calm, we remember our own calm. In their love, we remember our own love. In their coherence, we remember that we, too, are capable of living that way. There was a time when I thought awakening meant climbing a mountain alone, far above everyone else. But now I see it differently. True awakening is more like becoming a doorway, a passage through which others can glimpse their own potential. You don't drag them through the door. You simply keep it open by the way you live, by the way you breathe, by the frequency you embody, and when they are ready, they step through on their own. I believe this is one of the most sacred roles we can play in each other's lives, to stand as a reminder, to be a living, breathing proof that harmony is possible, even in a chaotic world, to let our own coherence ripple outward, touching hearts we may never know, healing wounds we may never see. You may never realize the impact you have. The person who feels a little lighter after sitting beside you, the friend who makes a brave choice because your calm gave them courage, the stranger who decides to keep going because, in your presence, they felt a glimpse of hope. When you reach coherence, you don't just change your own life. You become part of a larger symphony, the quiet music of collective healing. And as more and more of us find our way into this state, the world itself begins to shift. So, trust that your being matters, even when you can't see the effects. You don't have to save everyone. You don't have to fix anything. Just keep tending to your own inner harmony. Keep shining like that lighthouse in the storm. Because in doing so, you offer others something priceless, the chance to remember who they truly are. 7. Coherence unlocks creative abilities beyond imagination. There are moments in life that leave you speechless. Moments when you know something before it happens. When you sense the pain of someone you love even though they are miles away. When you think of a person, and seconds later, they call you as if pulled by an invisible thread. For much of my life, I dismissed these experiences as coincidence, as tricks of the mind. I was taught, like many of us, to believe that only what can be measured or explained is real. But deep down, I always felt there was something quietly moving beneath the surface of everyday life. As I journeyed through my own healing and began to live in a state of deeper coherence, I discovered something profound. These so-called mystical experiences are not mystical at all. They are natural expressions of the mind and body when they operate at their highest level. When you reach coherence, when your heart, mind, and nervous system align, a door opens within you. Through that door flows a kind of awareness that transcends logic. It's as though your perception expands beyond the limits of time and space. This is why things like deep empathy, precognition, and even telepathic connection become possible. Not because you've become special, but because you've returned to your natural state, one in which consciousness isn't bound by the rules we were taught to believe in. Science has a language for this. It describes your body as a biological laser when you are in coherence. Every cell begins to emit light, tiny packets of energy called biophotons that extend beyond your skin, interacting with the world around you. This light is not metaphorical. It is literal, measurable, and deeply intelligent. When this happens, your presence becomes a force in the physical world. Your thoughts and emotions no longer just stay locked inside you. They ripple outward, influencing matter and energy in ways that were once considered impossible. What we once called miracles begin to reveal themselves as simple, natural laws we've only just begun to understand. I remember a time when I experienced this firsthand. I was sitting in meditation, not trying to achieve anything, just breathing and listening. Suddenly, I felt an overwhelming wave of warmth and clarity move through me. It was as if every cell in my body had switched on, glowing with light, I couldn't see, but could feel with every fiber of my being. In that state, I sensed someone close to me was in pain. There was no message, no phone call, no visible sign. But I knew. I reached out to them later and discovered that at the exact moment I felt their pain, they had been going through a deep emotional struggle. That experience changed me forever. It showed me that we are all far more connected than we've been led to believe. It showed me that when our inner world becomes coherent, we access a field of information that transcends distance, time, and even the limits of our physical senses. This doesn't make life more complicated. In fact, it makes life beautifully simple. When you trust this deeper intelligence, you stop needing to control everything with your mind. You begin to listen instead to the subtle nudges, the quiet intuitions, the signals your body and heart are constantly receiving. This is where true creativity comes from. Not from pushing, forcing, or endlessly analyzing, but from allowing inspiration to flow through you like a river. It's the same force that guides birds to migrate, flowers to bloom, and the tides to rise and fall. When you are coherent, you align with that natural intelligence. In this state, you become a co-creator with life itself. You can sense possibilities before they appear. You can bring ideas into form with ease because you are no longer separate from the creative field. You are the creative field expressing itself through you. And perhaps most beautifully, you realize that what you once thought of as supernatural is not outside of you at all. It has always been a part of you, quietly waiting beneath the noise and chaos of the modern world. When coherence deepens, your very being becomes a bridge between the unseen and the seen. You stop questioning whether miracles are real because you begin to live them every day. The synchronicities, the intuitive insights, the effortless flow, they are no longer rare events. They become your new normal. In this way, coherence doesn't just change how you experience life. It changes what you believe is possible. The walls of limitation crumble, and you begin to move through the world, not as a powerless observer, but as a conscious participant in creation itself. And that is the true miracle, to finally see that the magic you've been searching for has been in you all along, shining quietly, waiting for you to remember. 8. Reality responds more quickly when you reach coherence. There comes a point on this journey when you start to notice something unusual, something so subtle at first that you might question your own senses. It begins with small moments, like walking toward an elevator and the doors opening just as you arrive, or thinking of a friend and then receiving a message from them seconds later. It might even show up in simple, everyday ways, like traffic lights turning green as you approach, or a song playing on the radio that perfectly matches the thoughts in your heart. At first, you might laugh it off as coincidence. You tell yourself it's just luck, or that you're imagining patterns where none exist. But as these moments grow in frequency and clarity, you begin to sense something deeper is at play. You realize reality itself is no longer random. It's becoming responsive, like a living mirror, reflecting back the energy you carry within. This is not imagination. It's not some mystical fantasy or wishful thinking. It's a sign that your electromagnetic field, the energy generated by your heart, your brain, and every cell in your body has reached a level of harmony and strength where it can interact directly with the world around you. We've all heard the saying, as within, so without. But when you are in coherence, this truth stops being a nice idea and becomes something you can actually feel. I remember a period in my life when this shift first became obvious to me. I had been through a long season of inner work, facing my shadows, releasing old pain, and learning to live in a state of surrender rather than control. One day, as I was walking through the city, I noticed how effortlessly everything seemed to flow. The timing of the crosswalks, the rhythm of the crowd, even the way the breeze moved through the trees. It all felt synchronized with my own breathing. And then something unexpected happened. I walked into a building, and the elevator doors opened at the exact moment I reached them. No button pressed. No waiting. It was such a small thing, but it stopped me in my tracks. I could feel it wasn't just luck. It was as if the world itself was whispering, "We see you. We're moving with you." From that day on, I started to notice this kind of synchronicity everywhere. People began showing up at just the right time, saying exactly what I needed to hear. Opportunities aligned so perfectly, it felt as if they were designed for me. Even technology seemed to respond, my phone working flawlessly when I was calm, glitching when I was agitated. These are not random events. They are signals that you and your environment are in active dialogue. When you are coherent, you no longer feel like a separate observer watching life from the outside. You realize you are part of the very fabric of reality, influencing it with every thought, every emotion, every heartbeat. It's like tuning a musical instrument. When you are out of tune, everything around you feels chaotic, resistant, and unpredictable. But when you are in tune, when your inner state resonates with clarity and peace, the outer world begins to harmonize with you. Life starts to feel less like a battle and more like a dance. This doesn't mean everything becomes perfect or that challenges disappear, but it does mean that life becomes more responsive. You'll notice that the gap between intention and manifestation grows smaller. The people, places, and events around you begin to reflect your inner frequency with increasing speed. Some may call this magic, others may call it luck, but to me, it's simply the natural flow of a coherent life. Think of a clear lake. When the water is still, it perfectly reflects the sky above. When the water is disturbed and chaotic, the reflection is distorted. Your inner world works the same way. When your mind and heart are calm, reality becomes a faithful mirror. It shows you, with startling clarity, what you are projecting into it. This is why tending to your inner state is so important. It's not about controlling the outer world. It's about creating coherence within yourself, so that the world has no choice but to respond. You'll know you've reached this level when even the smallest details of life feel connected to something greater. The elevator doors, the traffic lights, the chance encounters, all of them weave together into a tapestry of meaning that reminds you you are not separate from the universe. You are in constant conversation with it. When you reach this point, trust deepens. You stop forcing outcomes and start allowing them to unfold. You begin to live with a quiet confidence, knowing that the same intelligence guiding the stars is also guiding your every step. And slowly, you realize that reality has always been responding to you. It was never about learning to make life obey your will. It was about learning to listen, to harmonize, and to let your own coherence ripple outward until the whole world begins to move in rhythm with you. 9. Challenges are the universe's way of rearranging your path. There are moments in life when everything seems to crumble at once. A relationship ends. A job slips through your fingers. A dream you held so tightly begins to dissolve. In those moments, it's easy to believe that life is punishing you, that the universe has turned its back on you. I've been there myself, sitting in the quiet after a storm, surrounded by the pieces of a life I no longer recognized. It felt unfair, almost cruel. I remember thinking, why me? What did I do to deserve this? But as time passed and the rawness softened, something remarkable became clear. Those experiences were never meant to destroy me. They were clearing a space inside and around me for something new to emerge. The universe is always in motion, always arranging and rearranging the intricate web of life. Sometimes, that rearrangement feels like chaos. But just because you can't see the full picture yet doesn't mean there isn't one. Think of a forest fire. From a distance, it looks like devastation, trees collapsing, smoke rising, life consumed by flames. But beneath the surface, a quiet miracle is happening. The fire clears out what is dead and decaying. making way for new growth. The soil becomes richer. Seeds hidden beneath the earth finally have the space and light to grow. In much the same way, the challenges in your life are not punishments. They are the fire that clears away what no longer serves you, what no longer matches the vibration of who you are becoming. They burn away the illusions, the outdated stories, the relationships and roles that have kept you small. It's painful. Yes, it's messy and confusing, especially when you are in the middle of it. But pain is often the language the universe uses to get our attention, to guide us gently, sometimes forcefully back into alignment. When a relationship ends, it is not a declaration that you are unworthy of love. It may simply mean that the person you were when that bond began is no longer the person you are now. The energy you carry has shifted, and the connection can no longer hold in its old form. The ending creates space for a new connection, one that reflects your growth and your truth. When a job or career path falls apart, it's easy to feel like you failed. But what if it's not failure at all? What if it's the universe closing a door to protect you from a path that would have kept you trapped in limitation? Sometimes, we are pushed out of situations we wouldn't have left on our own, simply because our souls know we are meant for more. Looking back on my own life, I see this pattern so clearly now. The very moments I cursed at the time, the heartbreaks, the losses, the nights I felt completely lost were the exact catalysts I needed to grow into who I am today. If even one of those challenges had been removed, I wouldn't be here, speaking these words to you now. It's like standing too close to a painting. All you can see are the dark brushstrokes, the harsh lines. But when you step back, you begin to see the beauty of the entire picture. The very marks that seemed chaotic up close are revealed as essential parts of the whole. The same is true of your life. From where you are now, the pain may feel senseless, but with time and distance, you will come to see the wisdom behind it. Every event, every ending, every closed door was guiding you toward exactly where you needed to be. This understanding doesn't erase the pain. You're still allowed to grieve, to feel angry, to wish things had turned out differently. But beneath those emotions, there can be a quiet trust, a knowing that even when you can't see the path, there is a path. When you begin to trust this process, you stop resisting it so fiercely. You no longer cling to what is leaving or fight to hold on to what no longer fits. Instead, you let life breathe through you, knowing that endings are also beginnings in disguise. And one day, you'll look back with gratitude, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. You'll see that the universe was never trying to hurt you. It was rearranging your life so that your soul could grow, expand, and shine in ways you never imagined. In that moment of clarity, you'll realize that you were never lost. You were always being guided. Even in the darkest times, you were being led, step by step, to the exact place where you were always meant to be. 10. Coherence is a universal responsibility, not just a personal benefit. There comes a point on the path of inner growth when you begin to realize that your journey is not only about you. In the beginning, coherence feels personal. It feels like something you cultivate for your own well-being, your own peace, your own freedom from pain. And that is where it must begin, within the intimate space of your own heart and mind. But as your awareness deepens, you start to sense a truth so vast that it humbles you. Every choice you make, every emotion you hold, ripples outward into the collective field of life. Your coherence is not a private experience. It is a gift you offer to the world. We often think of ourselves as separate islands, each living our own small, disconnected lives. But beneath the surface, we are all connected through an invisible web of energy. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field that stretches far beyond your physical body. Every time you breathe with love instead of fear, every time you choose forgiveness over resentment, you subtly influence this shared field. It might feel impossible to believe at first. After all, how could one person's inner state make any difference to something as vast as the entire planet? But think of a tuning fork. Strike it, and its vibration will cause other tuning forks nearby to vibrate at the same frequency. One small sound can set off a chain reaction of harmony. You are that tuning fork. When you live in coherence, you become a steady signal of balance in a world full of noise and chaos. People around you, often without even realizing it, begin to resonate with your calm. They breathe easier. They speak softer. They remember, if only for a moment, their own inner wholeness. And here's where it becomes even more extraordinary when many people begin to live this way. The effect multiplies. A single candle can light another and another until a whole room glows. In the same way, a handful of coherent individuals can shift the energy of an entire community, and when communities ripple outward, they influence cities, countries, and eventually the entire world. This is how collective transformation happens. Not through force, not through control, but through the quiet revolution of countless hearts choosing harmony over division. Every time you choose love instead of fear, you are not only healing yourself, you are subtly healing the collective. Every time you pause before reacting, breathe deeply, and respond with clarity, you are stabilizing the shared field of humanity. These moments may feel small, even invisible, but their impact reaches farther than you can imagine. I have seen this truth with my own eyes. I've been in rooms where a single person's presence shifted the atmosphere entirely. They didn't say a word. They didn't try to lead or convince anyone. They simply radiated coherence, and others naturally followed. Conversations softened. Tension dissolved. People began to feel safe enough to open their hearts. Now imagine what happens when thousands, even millions of us live this way. A tipping point is reached. The old structures of fear and conflict begin to crumble, not because they are fought against, but because they no longer have the energy to sustain themselves. In their place, a new collective frequency emerges, one based on love, respect, and interconnectedness. This is what I call a frequency revolution. It is not loud or violent. It does not demand that anyone believe anything or follow anyone. It simply unfolds as more and more people remember who they truly are. And this is why coherence is not just a personal practice. It is a universal responsibility. Your inner work matters not just for your happiness, but for the evolution of our species. Each moment, you choose peace. You are casting a vote for the kind of world we will all share. It can feel overwhelming at times. To carry this awareness, you might wonder, am I really strong enough to hold this responsibility? But here's the beauty of it. You don't need to carry it alone. Every coherent heart you meet becomes part of a vast network of light, a web of consciousness that supports and strengthens you. In this way, you are both an individual and a collective being. Your actions are deeply personal, yet profoundly interconnected. You are like a single drop of water in an endless ocean. And when you choose coherence, you don't just calm your own waves. You bring harmony to the entire sea. So the next time you sit quietly and breathe into your heart, know this. You are doing far more than centering yourself. You are quietly contributing to the healing of humanity. You are holding a space for others to remember their own light, and with each moment of presence, you bring the world one step closer to the future it longs for. This is how revolutions begin, not with battles or victories, but with countless individuals choosing to embody the very harmony they wish to see in the world. And it begins, always, with you. 11. You don't have to search. You only have to return to yourself. For so much of our lives, we are taught to search. We search for meaning, for love, for purpose. We run toward every shiny promise that whispers, "This will make you whole." We chase relationships, careers, spiritual teachings, and external symbols of success, hoping they will finally fill the emptiness inside. I know this chase well. I lived it for years, and every time I thought I had found the answer, it would slip through my fingers like sand. The relationship didn't fix the loneliness. The achievement didn't bring lasting peace. The new spiritual practice didn't silence the deeper questions. No matter how far I searched, there was always another horizon, another goal, another mountain to climb. One day, exhausted and broken from chasing, I simply stopped. I sat in silence, not out of discipline or wisdom, but because I had no energy left to keep running. And in that quiet, something extraordinary happened. I began to hear a voice not loud or dramatic, but soft, like a whisper from deep within. It said, "You are already home. You always have been." At first, I didn't understand, but slowly, over time, I came to see the truth of those words. The answers I had been seeking were never outside of me. They had been buried beneath layers of fear, doubt, and old beliefs about who I was supposed to be. It's like the sky on a cloudy day. When dark clouds gather, you might think the sun is gone, but the sun was never missing. It was only hidden. Your true self is like that sun. It has been shining all along, quietly illuminating your being, even when you couldn't see it. The greatest miracle is not in finding something new. It is in remembering what was always there. Quantum coherence, the state of deep harmony between your heart, mind, body, and spirit is not something you have to earn or build. It's your natural state. The way a river naturally flows downstream, or a bird naturally flies through the air. When you stop struggling and start listening, coherence reveals itself effortlessly, like the sun emerging. When the clouds finally part, the world we live in tells us the opposite. It tells us to keep striving, keep consuming, keep reaching for more. It convinces us that peace and fulfillment are out there, just beyond the next milestone or possession. But the more we chase, the further we drift from ourselves. The paradox is this: the moment you stop searching, you begin to see clearly. When you turn inward and rest in stillness, you discover that everything you've been seeking is already here. The love you crave is your own heart opening. The guidance you long for is the quiet wisdom rising from within. The connection you dream of is the truth that you have never been separate from the universe. In this realization, the frantic search ends. You stop grasping for answers because you see that you are the answer. You are not a small, lost being trying to find your place in a vast universe. You are the universe, experiencing itself through your eyes, your hands, your heartbeat. This understanding brings a profound shift. You no longer need to fix yourself or control the world. You begin to live from a place of trust, knowing that life is unfolding through you, not against you. Your actions become more aligned, not because you're forcing them, but because they flow naturally from the truth of who you are. When you live this way, you realize that surrender is not weakness. It's the ultimate strength. It's the courage to stop clinging to old stories, to stop demanding that life be different, and to allow yourself to simply be. This doesn't mean you'll never face challenges again. The storms will still come, but you'll meet them differently. Instead of being tossed around by the waves, you'll rest in the deep, still ocean beneath them. From that stillness, clarity and wisdom rise like the tide. Returning to yourself doesn't happen in one grand, dramatic moment. It happens in countless small choices: a breath taken in awareness, a moment of silence before speaking, a willingness to feel instead of numb. Each choice peels back another layer, bringing you closer to the essence of who you truly are. And then, one day, you look in the mirror and realize you are no longer searching. You have come home not to a place, but to a state of being. You recognize that the universe was never outside of you. It was always here, in the rhythm of your breath, the beating of your heart, the quiet knowing in your soul. When you live from this place, life becomes simpler, softer. You no longer chase the future or fight the past. You simply allow each moment to unfold, trusting that what you are looking for has been here all along. And in that allowing, the most profound truth reveals itself. You don't need to search for magic. You are the magic. You are the universe, endlessly exploring itself through this precious, fleeting experience of being human. Returning to the truth of who you are, quantum coherence is not a destination you must reach or a prize you must earn. It is not something hidden far away, reserved for a chosen few. It is your original state, the essence of who you have always been. It is what remains when all resistance falls away, when the walls you've built to protect yourself slowly dissolve, and you are no longer separate from the flow of life. I know how easy it is to believe that you must fight to create the life you want. For years, I lived in that struggle, trying to control every detail, chasing goals, forcing things into place. But the more I fought, the more exhausted I became. It was only when I finally let go that I realized life had been waiting to move with me all along. When you reach coherence, you stop trying to bend the world to your will. You stop gripping so tightly to outcomes and identities. Instead, you become an open space through which life itself can move freely. You are no longer just a person navigating events. You become the living pulse of the universe, expressing itself through you. And here's the beautiful paradox: when you let go of control, everything begins to align. The people, opportunities, and circumstances that once felt so far away naturally find their way to you. Reality reshapes itself around your inner harmony, like water flowing effortlessly around a rock. You don't have to push or pull, you simply have to be. In this state, even the smallest actions carry profound power. A word spoken with clarity becomes a seed of transformation. A single breath taken in awareness ripples out into the collective field. Your very presence becomes a quiet force of creation, not just for your own life, but for all of humanity. This is why your journey matters so deeply. It's not just about building a better life for yourself. It's about being part of something much larger, a global awakening of consciousness. Each time one person returns to their natural state of coherence, they open a doorway for countless others to step through. Your healing becomes a light in the dark, a silent invitation for others to remember who they are. When enough of us make this choice, the world changes, not through struggle or revolution in the usual sense, but through a quiet, unstoppable shift in frequency. A new way of living emerges, one rooted not in fear and separation, but in love, harmony, and connection. And it all begins with a simple decision. The decision to return to yourself. Not the self that the world has told you to be. Not the self shaped by old stories and wounds. But the deeper self that has always been whole. The self that has never been broken, never been separate, never been lost. When you make that choice, everything shifts. You begin to see that the universe is not something outside of you, moving randomly and without meaning. You begin to feel, in every breath and heartbeat, that the universe lives through you. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a single, beautiful drop. So take a moment, right here, right now, to breathe deeply and remember, you don't have to keep searching for magic or meaning. You don't have to fight for a place in this world. All you need to do is allow yourself to come home to what has been within you all along. And when you do, you will see the truth. So many of us spend lifetimes seeking. The universe isn't something you must reach for. It isn't out there, somewhere far away. The universe is here. The universe is you, your life, your choices, your very being. These are not small or insignificant. They are the way the cosmos knows itself, explores itself, and creates through you. In this realization, there is nothing left to chase, There is only the simple, sacred act of living fully, deeply, and coherently, and perhaps, in that quiet understanding, you'll smile, not because you've found something new, but because you finally remembered what was true all along. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe, beautifully alive, breathing through this moment.